Now, teachers are the cornerstone of any sustainable education system. They are responsible for imparting knowledge, nurturing young minds, and instilling values that contribute to a brighter future. In Nigeria, where educational challenges persist, teachers are at the forefront of the battle to ensure access to quality education for all. Now, these dedicated educators often face significant challenges, from inadequate resources to overcrowded classrooms. However, they continue to persevere, making a profound impact on the lives of their students. Well, joining me now is Dr. Peter Ogudoro. He is an education researcher. Thank you so much, Dr. Peter, for joining us.
It's my pleasure to come on the program.
It's a pleasure to have you join us as well. Dr. Peter, it's World Teachers' Day, and there is it goes without saying that this sector faces a lot of challenges, especially on the part of the teachers. Now, based on your research, what exactly are the primary systemic challenges that the teachers face in delivering quality education, and how do these challenges compare to the global educational context?
Well, Nigerian teachers are in a very peculiar, troubling situation because they are practicing teaching in a country where most people do not respect teachers, and those who employ them do not give them the recognition and rewards that they deserve. And we are also seeing ourselves as teachers practicing in an environment that is very under-resourced. We do not have equipment we need to be able to do the jobs that society has put on our shoulders to discharge. And everywhere we turn, you discover that we are harassed, we are not respected, we are not incentivized to do our jobs the way we should do them. And what you find is that even with the enormous sacrifices we're making, sometimes parents even march into our schools and our classrooms to harass us and fight us, even when we are doing our best to give their children the best education possible. And at political level, we haven't been able to find ourselves in a situation where the political masters give us policy formulators who know the true value of education. We are yet to prioritize education and see it as an indispensable tool for provoking accelerated development for a country like Nigeria that is in dire need of development.
Right.
So no matter how you look at it, you find that Nigerian teachers are endangered species, and that's very worrisome to those of us who do research in the industry and who know that without education, all of the problems they are trying to solve will continue to live with us.
Now, speaking of the research that you do, in your studies as an education researcher, have you come across any innovative approach or best practices that the teachers in Nigeria or educational institutions have adopted to overcome resource limitations and, of course, improve outcomes of learning?
Well, in international context, I know that Finland does a fantastic job. They see education as an investment rather than a cost. And they give every child in Finland access to good quality education, and that access is free. And as a matter of fact, it is compulsory until the child goes past the age of 18. And if you have the brains to go as far as PhD, you receive the education right from kindergarten up to PhD, for free, because they have come to realize through research and observation and experience that when you have a society where everybody is educated, what you have succeeded in doing is to develop the capacity to provoke the development that enables you to generate wealth and put yourself in a situation where you're able to solve all the problems you need to solve to guarantee good quality life for everyone. Back home in Nigeria, there may be a few schools, but certainly not up to 1% of the total number of schools in Nigeria, where some good practices have been observed, but that's very negligible. Across board, what we find is that right from kindergarten up to university level, the quality of teaching is poor, level of equipment is poor, governance is poor, access is poor. Teaching and learning is at a level that looks like we don't yet understand that if we don't get it right with education, then every other thing fails.
All right, Dr. Peter, now as access to technology and online resources becomes increasingly important in education, what opportunities and obstacles do Nigerian teachers encounter in integrating the digital tools into their teaching methods?
Well, access to technology for the average Nigerian teacher is still very problematic. In the first place, the private school system we have here makes it difficult for us to equip teachers with the kind of money they need to be able to give themselves good quality access to internet, where all the resources are now. It's even worse in the public school system because the modern technology you talk about, internet access, Google Classrooms, using Zoom and those kinds of things. Most government schools haven't started thinking about providing those facilities. Even at the university level, they haven't really taken root. And so it's, again, just as I mentioned earlier, just about 1% of private schools making investment that looks like they want to operate at a globally competitive level. But that's a paltry number, which is very negligible and cannot give us what we're looking for as a people. And so much as recognize that technology has come and is helping several other societies to move forward, for us in Nigeria, the teacher doesn't have good access to it, the student doesn't have good access to it, the parents can't afford to fund it for their children to have good access to it, the school owners don't have the funding it takes to be able to provide the equipment, the technology, the devices you need for teachers and their students to be able to use these so-called modern technologies in a way that can empower everyone. So we haven't got to where we should be, and we shouldn't use Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to generalize and think that schools are doing well. The average Nigerian child doesn't study in Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Abuja. He studies in Yobe, in far and distant places, including Akwa Ibom, etc. So that's where we are. We are still very far away from empowering the Nigerian child, the teacher, their parents, and the school leaders with the technology they need to be able to give us the type of education that will make us become globally competitive as a country.
Right. Dr. Peter, finally, are there practical ways to surmount this challenge that will benefit both the teacher and the students?
Certainly. The starting point will be for us to ensure that at the policy level, we always make sure that the Minister of Education is a professional in the industry who has received the right training. And we should cure ourselves of the belief that merely having the title of professor makes you an educationist. That's not correct. So what I find here, I think the current Minister of Education is a professor of law. And that's a misnomer because I haven't, in the history of Nigeria, seen any time when we had a professor of geography as Minister of Justice. So I keep wondering why everybody thinks that just anybody can fit into the business of education. So we should leave education in the hands of professionals who went to school to study it, who did up to PhD in it, if they have to play policy roles.
Right.
So that's the starting point, and we need to fund education adequately, and we need to retrain our teachers and ensure that we give ourselves the right, the right philosophy of education.
All right, Dr. Peter Ogudoro, education researcher, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.